Welcome to the White Donkey's CommentCast.
All right, so today we're diving into something really different. It's this thing called the White Donkey's CommentCast.
Okay.
And it's got me wondering if this is like the future of podcasts. The whole idea is it's a podcast completely shaped by, listener comments.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah, they're basically saying, hey, listeners, you call the shots.
So they're really handing over the reins, huh? That's a bold move.
It really is, and it kind of flips the script on how we usually think of podcasts, right? Like you think about the typical podcast.
Yeah, you've got your host. They're the ones deciding what to talk about, what's important.
Exactly. It's their agenda, basically.
Right, and the listeners are just along for the ride.
Tuning in week after week to see what the host cooked up.
Exactly. But this CommentCast thing, it's like they're saying, hey, we want a conversation.
Yeah, it's not just a one-way street anymore. It's interactive. Like instead of just passively listening in your car.
Right, you're actually part of the process.
You're sending in your hot takes, your questions. And those actually influence what gets talked about.
Which, for someone like you who's all about efficiency, that could be a game changer.
Oh, totally.
Imagine you're not wasting time sifting through episodes that miss the mark. You're getting content curated specifically to your interests.
It's like having a personal podcast genie or something. I wish for a deep dive into, and boom, the White Donkeys deliver.
Ha, I like that.
But how does this even work in practice? Do they just take every single comment and run with it?
Well, it's not quite that simple. It's more about tapping into what they call the collective intelligence of the audience.
Okay, so not just any random thought someone throws out there.
Right, it's about identifying those really insightful questions. The things that maybe the hosts wouldn't have even considered.
That's so true. Like, I consider myself a pretty curious person, but I know for a fact there are people out there with these niche passions.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like things I wouldn't even know where to begin.
And those passions often come with the most fascinating questions.
Exactly. And this CommentCast thing could be a way to unearth those gems.
And that's where their whole slogan, your voice, our discussion, comes in. It's not just about listening anymore. It's about actively shaping the conversation.
Which honestly is kind of refreshing. Don't you feel like we're constantly drowning in content these days?
Oh, 100%.
Algorithms trying to guess what we want.
Yeah, but it's never quite right, is it?
Exactly. And this feels like a way to take back some of that control. To say, hey, I'm not just a consumer here. I'm a collaborator.
And that shift from passive consumer to active collaborator, that's where things get really interesting.
Because it's not just about getting the information you want. It's about the sense of ownership that comes with it.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm hooked, but is this too good to be true? Could this just be a passing fad, or are the White Donkeys onto something bigger? What do you think?
Yeah, it's the million-dollar question, right? Is this just a fad, or is there something more here?
Right.
See, what really gets me is how well this model lines up with everything else that's going on. Look at the rise of live streams, online forums, where people are crowdsourcing solutions.
Oh, yeah?
There's a real hunger out there for content that's not just consumed, but experienced together.
It's funny you mentioned that. I was just reading this study about online communities and how people who are active in those communities, especially around hobbies or interests, they report feeling a greater sense of belonging, like it actually boosts their well-being.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it made me think of that old saying, shared joy is a double joy, shared sorrow is half a sorrow.
I like that.
And it feels very relevant to what the White Donkeys are doing here. It's that community-driven approach.
It's smart, and for content creators, especially podcasters, this model offers a really interesting solution to a common problem: stagnation.
Oh, tell me about it.
How many podcasts have you listened to that start strong, but then
Fizzle out.
they lose their spark? The hosts run out of ideas, or they get stuck in a rut.
Totally. It's like they're on autopilot.
Exactly. But this CommentCast approach, it blows the doors wide open, fresh perspectives constantly flowing in.
It's like crowdsourcing their content strategy.
In a way, it is.
Which, honestly, pretty genius. And speaking of genius, let's talk about you, dear listener.
Yeah.
Because this whole concept is right up your alley.
Oh, how so?
You're all about efficiency, right? Getting the most out of your time, cutting through the noise, and getting straight to the good stuff.
That's our listener in a nutshell.
Exactly. So imagine being able to do that with your podcast listening. You're not just getting content, you're getting content curated specifically for you by other people who share your interests.
It's like a personalized recommendation engine, but powered by real people.
Yes, exactly.
Now, of course, it's not all going to be easy street. One thing they emphasize in the material we have here is the importance of moderation.
Right, because with great power comes great responsibility.
Exactly. You're letting comments drive the show, so you need a way to make sure the information is accurate.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to become a platform for misinformation.
Right, and you don't want the loudest or most extreme voices to drown out everything else.
It's about finding that balance, right?
Exactly. Encouraging open discussion while still maintaining some level of, I guess you could say, editorial oversight.
Yeah, you need some guardrails.
Right. And that's what I find so interesting about the White Donkey's release schedule.
They're putting out new episodes every single day, right?
Every single day.
Yeah.
Which means they can be incredibly responsive to their audience.
I see what you mean.
They can test out ideas, see what resonates, and adjust accordingly.
So they're basically iterating on their format in real time.
Precisely. They're like pioneers venturing into this uncharted territory.
And a lot of it hinges on their ability to build that strong, engaged community.
Absolutely, because without that community, it all falls apart.
So we've talked about how the White Donkey's CommentCast works and how it's different.
Right.
But I think the heart of it, the thing that'll really click with you is it taps into that human need to be heard.
Oh, absolutely.
To feel like your voice actually matters.
Especially these days. Right?
Yes, like with social media, everyone's a commentator.
Everyone's got an opinion.
And everyone wants their opinion to be heard.
But this model actually gives those opinions weight.
Right. It's not just shouting into the void.
It's about having a real impact on the content you consume.
It's like they're saying, hey, we actually care what you think.
Which I think catches people off guard in a good way.
It definitely makes the whole listening experience way more engaging.
It's not passive anymore.
Right. You're not just along for the ride.
You're actively participating in shaping the conversation.
And that ties into that whole desire for authenticity we're seeing everywhere.
Oh, 100%.
People are tired of being talked at. They want something real, something genuine.
And that's what the White Donkey's CommentCast fosters. It's built into the model.
Right. It's like the antidote to all that algorithmic curated content.
Which, let's be real, can feel pretty soulless sometimes.
No kidding.
Yeah.
It's refreshing to see someone pushing back against that.
It's about reclaiming that sense of agency.
Exactly. Instead of letting some algorithm dictate what you should be interested in.
You get to say, no, this is what I want to learn about. This is what matters to me.
And for you, dear listener, that means a direct line to the content you actually crave.
Content that's been curated not by some faceless algorithm.
But by a community of people who share your interests.
It's a powerful idea.
It really is. And it has the potential to, I don't know, change how we think about consuming media.
I agree. It's not just about entertainment anymore.
It's about connection and collaboration.
It's about recognizing that the best ideas often come from unexpected places.
It's like the difference between, I don't know, ordering takeout versus cooking a meal with friends.
Ooh, I like that analogy.
Right. Like both can be satisfying.
Sure.
But there's a different level of enjoyment when you're actively involved in the process.
When you've had a hand in creating something.
Exactly. And that's what the White Donkeys are doing here.
They're saying, hey, come cook with us. Let's make something great together.
And that's exciting. It challenges the whole traditional dynamic.
The whole idea of creator versus consumer.
Right. It's like, it says we can all be both.
And that the most engaging content comes from a place of shared curiosity.
So to wrap this all up for you, dear listener, if you're feeling that fatigue, if you're tired of the same old podcast formula, keep an eye on this CommentCast thing.
I think it's more than just a gimmick.
Me too.
Yeah.
It might just be a glimpse into the future of how we connect, learn, and explore ideas together.
Don't underestimate the power of your own voice and your own curiosity.
Because in this new landscape, those things are more valuable than ever.
Thanks for tuning in to the White Donkey's CommentCast. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to let us know what topics you want to hear next. See you in the next episode.